नमस्कार, मी सई चिद्दरवार. सुधा मूर्तीच्या पुस्तकातील दुष्यंत शकुंतलाची ही कथा चला ऐकूया. गोष्टीचं नाव आहे द रिंग ऑफ मेमरी. वन्स देर लिव्ड अ किंग नेम्ड विश्वामित्र who gave up everything to become a sage and went into meditation in a forest for several years. Lord Indra, the king of the gods, was afraid that the powerful sage's penance would be a threat to his throne. So he sent his most beautiful celestial dancer, Menaka, to distract Vishwamitra. Menaka came down from the heavens and tried to distract the sage. After a lot of effort on her part, Vishwamitra opened his eyes. The moment he laid eyes on Menaka, the sage forgot his meditation and fell in love with her. The couple lived happily for a while until they had a baby girl. Vishwamitra couldn't take his eyes off the cherubic baby, but she reminded him of his purpose, and he realized, to his great dismay, that he had completely forgotten about his penance. Instead, he had become the father of a child. Angry and upset, he said to Menaka, I understand now what has happened here. You are the one who diverted my attention from my purpose. From this day on, it is your sole responsibility to look after this baby. Don't ever approach me again. If you do, I will curse you in such a manner that you will regret the day you came looking for me. Without another look at the newborn, Vishwamitra stormed out of their home, never to return. Menaka was distraught. What am I to do? She thought. I can't take my baby back to Lord Indra's court in the heavens. Humans aren't allowed there. Weeping, she prayed fervently to the gods above and the creatures in the forest. Finally, she placed the baby on a plantain leaf under a shady tree and said to her, My dear child, please forgive me. I am helpless. I was commanded to distract Vishwamitra, and now that he is no longer with me, I must go back. I leave you here with a prayer, and I request these animals and birds to look after you. I promise that whenever you are in trouble, I will come down from the heavens to help you. With tears and desperation in her eyes, Menaka went back to Indra's court. For a few hours, the baby girl lay there with only some birds for company who kept her entertained. The sound of her laughter reached the ears of Sage Kanvar, who was on his way to a river nearby. He followed the sound to its source. A baby girl surrounded by birds who were making her laugh. Sage Kanvar looked around for her parents, but there was absolutely no sign of human life. He finally sat down and meditated until he realized through his yogic powers that the baby had been abandoned. He picked up the baby in his arms. Oh, my dear child, he said, I am a hermit, but I will bring you up like my very own. Since you are surrounded by these delightful Shakuntas who have kept you cheerful, I will call you Shakuntala. Shakuntala grew up to be a beautiful woman in Sage Kanvar's ashram. She formed a close friendship with two girls named Anusuya and Priyamvada. Gautami, another hermit in the ashram, played a huge role in raising Shakuntala. Young Shakuntala was very fond of the animals and the birds and the trees in the ashram and content with her life there. One day, Sage Kanvar had to go away from the ashram for a few months. Meanwhile, Shakuntala got busy tending to the garden and watering the trees and plants. After some time, she heard a voice saying, "I'm thirsty. Will you please give me some water?" She turned around face to face with a handsome young man who was none other than Dushyant, a descendant of the Kurus from the Lunar dynasty and the king of Hastinapur. Dushyant had heard that the forests near the ashram were full of wild animals that were constantly attacking his people. So he had taken it upon himself to hunt those creatures down. Dushyant and Shakuntala were instantly drawn to each other. She shyly poured him some water while he stood staring at her face, struck by her beauty and grace. Taking advantage of Sage Kanvar's absence, the king began visiting the ashram every day on the pretense of taking a break from his search for the wild animals. Weeks passed, and the couple finally got married in a simple ceremony without the consent of their families. Soon after the wedding, Dushyant had to go back to the capital. Shakuntala was heartbroken. Dushyant consoled her, saying, "Dear wife, take this ring as a reminder of my love. I promise to send word to your father as soon as I reach Hastinapur. I must ask for his permission before taking you back with me." Shakuntala calmed down a little and agreed. She wore the slightly loose ring on her finger and looked at her husband with trust and confidence. Dushyant became busy with matters of the state as soon as he reached the capital, so he decided to put off sending word to Shakuntala's father until he had more time on his hands. Meanwhile, Shakuntala found out that she was pregnant. When Sage Kanva came back to the ashram, he learnt of everything that had happened. Though I have raised Shakuntala as my daughter, she has chosen to marry a king and not a sage. But I will know that I know that she will make an elegant queen, he thought. He said to his daughter, "Let's not wait to hear from Dushyant. It is time for you to go to your husband's home." Though Shakuntala was delighted at the thought of reuniting with her husband, she was also very nervous about the life ahead of her. "I have never gone out of the ashram or the forest. I have never even seen a city. I only know my dear forest foster father and my husband. I wonder if I can live or adjust to life in the capital," she thought fretfully. While she was lost in her thoughts, Durvasji, a sage infamous for his short temper, entered the ashram to meet Sage Kanva. Shakuntala was so distracted by her worries and apprehensions that she forgot her duties as a host and didn't offer so much as a greeting to the sage. Durvasji was livid at this presumed blatant lack of respect. He poured a little water from his kamandalu into his palm and sprinkled it onto the young woman and said, "Oh Shakuntala, you forgot your responsibility as a host because you were clearly thinking of someone else. The person in your thoughts will have no recollection of you from this moment on." Poor Shakuntala barely registered his words. Her friends, who had just entered the room, heard the terrible curse and immediately fell at Durvasji's feet. "O revered sage, we urge you to take back your curse," they pleaded. "Shakuntala is as naive as a newborn. She is going through difficult times, so she is consumed by her worries. We have never known her to hurt people, even unintentionally. Please hear us. We ask for forgiveness on her behalf." Durvasji calmed down. "I can't undo the curse," he said. "However, I can give you a remedy. If Shakuntala possesses a material item of the person she was thinking about, then that person will remember her as soon as he or she sees the item. Shakuntala was still in a daze and remained unaware of the curse and the gravity of the situation. Soon, it was time for Shakuntala to depart. Her friends warned her, "Don't forget to carry the ring. Be careful, Shakuntala. Don't lose it, no matter what happens." Shakuntala nodded distractedly and, along with Gautamiji and a few sages, left the ashram. She looked back at her home with a heavy heart. The troop left the forest and took a boat across the river Ganga to reach Hastinapur. As usual, Shakuntala started thinking of Dushyant while absent mindedly dipping her hand in the water. As the ring was slightly loose, it slipped from her finger and fell into the river and was swallowed by a fish. Shakuntala, however, didn't even realize that she had lost the ring. After a long journey, the troop finally reached the royal court, where Dushyant was busy with the matters of the court. When they finally got a chance, Gautami addressed him. "O king, I present to you this beautiful maiden, the daughter of Sage Kanva. You met her in his ashram and married her. She is now with child, and it was our duty to bring her to her marital home. Our Guru sends his regards and requests you to look after his daughter like a delicate flower. Since our work is now complete, we would like to take your leave and return to the ashram." Of course, because of Durvasji's curse, King Dushyant could not recollect Shakuntala. He instinctively felt that he had seen her somewhere and knew her somehow, but he wasn't ready to accept her as his wife. "Revered ones," he said gently, "I respect your Guru's sentiments. However, I don't recall meeting this maiden before. So, how could I have married her? She may have mistaken me for someone who looks like me. I am a king, after all, and my wedding must take